All right.
And it typically hits kids between 5 and 15. So, yeah, I had no idea. I was like, what? And I had to work, yes, I had to make.
I know, it's walking down.
So David, were your ears ringing today?
Garrett got him some milk this morning. Tell him it shows that it helped his growth.
Probably going to talk about sharing some of the expenses related to.
Yeah.
She got enough, didn't she?
No, she in between the ads. Yeah.
That's when you get the floor.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, shoot, yeah, man.
we don't. Well, I'll
Think yours look nice.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Y'all,
I don't have anything to do with
He was on the table.
people know they're.
Is that what? Hey, thinking about it. I'm not very. I don't know. Hey, did Brick Carroll call you?
No.
I promise you, I sent him his number, and he said he was going to contact you.
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I sent him your number that Wednesday, and he said he's going to call you.
References in the comment. I'm gonna try to find it.
It's good.
We love you. Should I say, that must really be
How are you doing, Andy Hawkins? Good to see you again. How are you?
See, this is before we even built the facility.
Y'all have had plenty to do.
Show the
Yeah, I'll bet.
It's good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Ann Tucker, nice to meet you. Yes, I think we've met before, haven't you been here before? Yeah, I thought you had.
You bet.
Yes, I thought you had.
Start. Hey, Clay, how you doing? Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. This is our 5:30 committee meeting. Tonight we have Pafford Medical Services going to give us an update on their service they provide here in Conway. Clay Cobb is going to speak to us about this. And first of all, before you come up, Clay, first of all, I want to tell you that I can't speak for everybody, but I promise you, if they weren't happy, they'd tell me. Pafford's done an exceptional job in Conway, and we appreciate the great job y'all done. But anyway, come on up and speak to the council, please, sir.
Well, thank you all so very much for having us here, and we've definitely appreciate the trust that you placed in us a year ago today, and I hope that we've come through for you. We believe that our men and women here in Conway and Faulkner County and our leadership team here locally has produced a great product for the city of Conway, and we're taking care of the residents this last year. Just a few milestones we'd like to go over, just a few slides today, and staffing is one of them. We have every one of our ambulances staffed every day. We have met and exceeded the staffing expectations that we set forth. We have been a great corporate citizen, sponsoring many events, working with special events and community engagement. Toad Sick Days has been a very busy time for us the last 2 years or 2 occurrences, and it's been great. Our special operations team, which we'll talk to you just a little bit more about, in which we're working, our strike team with the SWAT team, with the Sheriff's Office and Police Department, has been a great addition to the community. And then I'm going to talk to you just about a few of our key performance indicators and reports, and just make sure that you guys understand that we've been meeting that expectation that you set forth for us in our contract. On staffing, we have right around 99 personnel, almost 100 personnel that are assigned to Conway that can either work here in a full-time or part-time capacity. So we believe that with that staff, that includes EMTs, paramedics, on-duty supervisors, and then our managers for this area. So we have a considerable amount of staff, paramedics, ODSs, which are on-duty supervisors, and staff to respond to ambulance calls. Events, we've been to pretty much every event you can imagine in Conway and Faulkner County. Between Toad Sick Days, the universities, football games, basketball games, pre-game work and planning with athletic trainers at the different schools. We've been busy with special events. Conway's a great community that people want to come to for special events and sporting events, and we're happy to be able to support those and make sure that the attendees are safe when they're here in Conway. We've really tried to be a good corporate citizen by working with different groups across the community to make sure that we're sponsoring events with the high schools, with the colleges, providing some scholarships, and then working with Parks and Recreation um, as we uh, as we sponsored the softball teams this year. Our special operations team to support law enforcement. We have 10 active members, and it's a combination with Conway Fire Department to make sure that we have trained personnel to respond to high-risk situations with our area law enforcement. And that's really been a great program that we've been able to add. And not only has it been good for the community here, but it's been good for the communities surrounding Conway and Faulkner County, and it allowed us to attract some people that wanted to be involved in that type of response and medicine to come work for Pafford here in Conway. You talk about response data. We've had about 23,200 responses. Our busiest day here was 81 ambulance requests in one day. We're averaging right around 50 to 60 ambulance requests a day. This is a very busy EMS system. That totals about 14,454 high priority 911 calls. That's our highest level.
Is that for the entire county?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. And you're going to see, I'm going to break some things down for the county and the city. Sometimes it's hard for us to separate the county from Conway because we share ambulances in one seamless system. And you may have an ambulance that came down from Greenbrier and brought a patient down to the hospital, and then they're the next closest to an emergency call here in Conway. So you'll see us kind of come across the between the city and the county quite often in my presentation today. We know that about 69% of the emergency responses occur between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., and just 31% of our responses occur overnight. The busiest days are those between Monday and Friday, and generally there's very little variation from day to day. Our weekends are our least busy time here in Conway. This page includes data for all priorities and responses, and the data represented on this page is for general information purposes and not really a reference of our month-to-month compliance reports. But you'll notice we have an average out of shoot time from January of this year through April 23rd of this year of about 2 minutes and 13 seconds. And that means after the alarm goes off at the fire station or the ambulance station for a call, we have an ambulance with wheels rolling in 2 minutes and 13 seconds around the clock. We have an average response time countywide of 9 minutes and 17 seconds. And we're on scene an average of about 10 minutes. And then our transport time to a hospital is about 10 minutes, almost 11 minutes. This is really where I think our partnership with the two hospitals here in Conway is important. Our average hospital drop time is 17 minutes and 37 seconds. That is absolutely phenomenal. We're getting those patients off our stretcher in a timely manner a majority of the time. So generally speaking, when we get a 911 call and the phone rings, it takes us about an hour to complete the mission of every 911 call. From January 1st through April 30th, we've had 6,499 responses, and we have transported out of those 911 calls 4,096 patients. 2,400 of those patients chose not to go to the hospital, and we clocked 50,300 miles on our ambulances with patients actually on board. So our top 10 destinations, 43.3% of our patients went to Conway Regional, and 24.8% went to Baptist Health Conway. And we talked to y'all last year when we did our presentation. We have no preference of hospital. It's the patient's choice of what hospital they want to go to. And we try to honor that choice as long as the facility has the bed space available in the emergency department and they're not on diversion. And you can note just some of the other hospitals there, just a very few calls go outside of the city limits. On to the next slide here. From January 1st through April 30th, our average response time was 8 minutes and 29 seconds. Our number one call for an ambulance was traffic or transportation incidents, which we had an average response time to of 5 minutes and 45 seconds. The next highest priority was breathing problems, followed by falls, unconscious or fainting, and chest pains. So pretty good number of calls for medical after the transportation and traffic incidents. In Conway, from January 1st to April 30th, ambulances were on scene for priority 1, which is our highest level of life-threatening call, in 6 minutes and 21 seconds. And again, it's pretty much the same type of call, diversification with traffic accidents, breathing problems, falls, unconscious or fainting, and chest pains. Priority 2 calls are those calls in which someone calls for an ambulance, but it's not life-threatening. We're sending an ambulance out immediately. They're not necessarily responding with the lights and sirens, but we're getting them out the door in those 2 minutes. And that was an average response time of 8 minutes and 2 seconds. So on our transfer and discharge discussion, one of the most important things for the hospitals is that they could get their patients discharged and out of the hospital to free up bed space so we could bring additional patients in from 911 calls. And we've worked hand in hand with the hospital. We've seen significant increase at Conway Regional of patients coming in there from regional referral sources that have then required us to then return some of those patients across the state after they've been discharged or taken back to a nursing home. So Conway Regional this year has contacted us, and we've completed 564 transports. And Baptist Conway, we've completed 446. Response times by zip code. We broke everything down to accommodate for the zip code in the area of Conway, but we again wanted to remind everyone in the room that when we put the system together first, we had about 30 days to put that system together for Conway. We didn't have a whole lot of time. And at the same time, we had the county that was needing ambulance service at once as well. So we were able to combine into one Conway Faulkner County system that supported each other. Currently, we have 9 ambulances in service at this point today. We operate 12 actual ambulance vehicles within the city and county. We have 3 supervisor ALS response units in which a paramedic is staffed and can respond with an ambulance or if an ambulance is not available. So that's really a quick snapshot of what's happened here this last year in Conway. And we think that we've met the mark and the expectations that your group has put forward for us.
What exactly does that mean? Does that mean a Conway ambulance maybe one time went all the way to McCrory?
So this actually includes transfers and discharges back. So if our ambulance here was involved in one of those calls, they might have gone mutual aid there. They might have taken a patient back to a nursing home there. It's just where our ambulances actually traveled for calls, including hospital transfers.
Council, you have any questions?
I got a comment. That high volume day was, I imagine that was pretty taxing on your employees with 9 ambulances. I mean, they were just nonstop going. Are they all right with that?
Well, there's busy days, and then there's those really busy days. And I can't be prouder of the staff that works here in Conway and in Faulkner County, and our leadership team with Sean and Jared that are out there every day. You know, we have made a commitment to the community, and the employees that work here have followed that commitment, and they want to take care of the residents here. It's just not a job to them. It's a task to make sure that each and every call is answered appropriately. Our integration with the fire department was, I think, single-handedly the best thing we've done for the city of Conway. You had a fire chief and fire command that saw the need and had a vision of integration, and it's definitely come through for the residents of Conway in a very positive manner. So when we're busy and the fire department's busy, we're all working together to make sure that each and every patient's taken care of.
I can say that y'all have integrated well with police and fire. Your employees that we bump into, it's just like running into Conway policemen or firemen. They're always courteous. They're always professional on scene. And council, I'd like to thank y'all for voting to allow the ambulance service to go in the Conway Fire Station. Chief Winter, thank you for looking forward, because this is a win-win for the people of Conway and in Faulkner County. So we're very pleased that you guys are here. Council, anything else? Any comments?
I hadn't heard anything bad about them.
I haven't either, and I've seen their presence all over the city at different events. Toad Suck, I mean, just another example of the partnership, not only that you have with the city, but also that you have beyond that.
Guys with the boots on the ground, did y'all see heat stress over this past weekend? I bet you did. You came through okay, looks like. Yeah, come on
Yes.
So at Toes Up Days, we set up our hospital,
Mhm.
mobile hospital there, if you had the pleasure of seeing it. And if you ever want a tour of that thing, holler for Jared, because for some reason, I have assumed the Toad Suck responsibility. And
Wow.
love every second of it. But honestly, we treated on Saturday during the heat and flux,
Mhm.
43 patients
Wow.
inside that. I'll give you another snapshot in time. At the same time, our citizens on the outside, our ambulances on the outside of Toad Suck responded to 61 calls. So there was 100 patients plus treated in the city of Conway by one of our ambulances on Toad Suck Saturday.
Wow.
Next year I'll be in Florida and I won't be here for that.
How convenient.
Seriously, that was a big footprint that
Mhm.
we took care of. That was a very exhausting day, and we loved every minute of it. I found out I can play doctor and get by with it, and it was a very taxing day on us. Fire department set up cooling stations
Mhm.
for us, and that was just a godsend to us, believe it or not. And we was just one patient after the other one. It was a very, very good time, taxing, and it gets to test our skills out there. Because I don't have a doctor standing on my shoulder to tell me what to do. I just get to play, and it was a lot of fun. And but seriously, that was a big event. The heat
Mhm.
hurt us. Yes, sir. It was a bad hot day.
I
Yeah.
heard there were a lot of.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
43 of them. So I met every one of those wonderful citizens of Conway. And to give you a history, I'm a citizen of the city of Conway. I grew up here. This is my hometown.
Wow.
So
Good.
so I'm not an out of towner like some of the other people in the building. But I'll quit before y'all hire me for a birthday or something. But seriously, this is my hometown. If you know this, they're responding to my house too. So I'm glad you all voted for this. I couldn't say that I'm more proud to be working for Pafford or to have them here. It's a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments.
Like I've already said, with our police department, our fire department, Pafford folks in Conway get the city is providing A+ service to our citizens as far as public safety. So thank you to all those groups, and thank you for presenting tonight.
Thank you, man. Thank you for
the hospital that set up Toad Suck Days. You have a defibrillator in that, is that correct?
We had full heart monitor capabilities. We had 2 ICU beds.
Wow.
We had 4 beds set up and 2 ICU beds. There was a paramedic and myself running, so 2 paramedics running it. We had an advanced and an EMT in there. And what was even funnier, if I could just throw it, our mechanics that put this thing together for us, our construction crew. At one point in time, they came in. I said, "Put gloves on, boys, because you're fixing to get to work." And they said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "I'll show you what to do." But anyhow, we had all hands on deck. So there's 2 ICU beds, completely capable of doing the ICU thing that Conway Regional could do, for instance, in ICU. And then we had our 4 regular beds. All 6 of them were filled at one point in time, and we had people in chairs. Yes, so we had defibrillators. We have a full hospital. Clay knows the equipment because he's the one that sets
Yeah, I
those
mean,
up.
we have crash carts, ventilators, defibrillators, pacemakers, everything that you would see in a hospital emergency.
I thought you
room.
probably did, Asa.
It's very advanced, and that unit gets to go all over the country. We can put up anywhere from an 8-bed field hospital up to 30 beds. Another thing that happened, I don't want to stray too far, but last year we had a major hurricane hit Florida, and we were able to send an ambulance that was actually housed here in the city of Conway to the state of Florida to help them. They went with 25 of our ambulances to Florida, and we never saw any interruption in service here, any change. But we had an ambulance in Florida, in Fort Myers, Florida, with that said the city of Conway, and we were represented there. And I felt that it was a good thing to get the people from here to be able to go and work in our field hospital in Florida and then work on the 911 ambulances down there. So we thank you all for allowing us the latitude to do that and to move vehicles around. When the tornado hit Little Rock, we sent ambulances from here. We never had an interruption or a change in the response times. We took care of business. People came in that were off duty. And we like to do that because at some time we're going to have a time of need. And we hope that our surrounding communities, and if something very bad happened, that nationally we would get help to come here to our own home. So that's why we're really big when we're called. We will normally go help anyone that's in need. But thank you.
Keep that hospital in Hope.
We do. It's in Hope, and yeah, so it's a great area for us to deploy. And
You were, Mr. Ledbetter, you were chair of that committee, weren't you? Amber, thank you. Good job.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Chief Winter, Chief Tapley, thank you. And thank you, Clay.
thank you.
All right, council, we got about 8 minutes.
I worked on that.
Andy.
Got in the list. What you want to add?
Go right ahead. We proceed each council meeting with a word of prayer and pledge of allegiance. If you'd like to, please feel free to join us. Good bow, please. Lord God, we thank you for another day. We thank you, Lord, for this great nation. We thank you for this great city. Lord, we pray, Lord, that any decision we make tonight will be in tune with what you would have for this city. Thank you for your grace, your mercy, your love, and all.
And pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now call this meeting to order. Mr. Garrett, would you call the roll, please, sir?
Mr. Hawkins?
Here.
Mr. Grimes?
Here.
Ms. Tucker?
Here.
Ms. Mel?
Here.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
And Ms. Isby.
Here.
All right. You should have received copies of the April 25th, 2023 City Council meeting. Any corrections, changes, or comments?
Make a motion for approval as submitted.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes 7-0. All right. Mr. Hawkins, Community Development. It's up
Man,
to
it
you,
just-
sir.
just Jumped right off the page, didn't
It did.
it? First item here, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance appropriating funds for the Public Art Advisory Committee. And we have an ordinance to read for this. It's ordinance 02338.
38.
Pull the microphone down. Miss Rogers. I have to tell her that because she never pulls it down. You can't hear her.
So the Public Art Board would like to do some smaller projects and just do an appropriation for the year. So some of the small projects that they looked at was like with the Tiny Toe project, maybe doing like some coloring books and doing some sponsorships with like Art Walk and UCA with some of their art people. And some of our smaller projects too, like the trail, we want to do some more art on the trail. So some of those small projects just do one appropriation a year and then have that money already available so that they don't have to come back. All of our large projects will come back before council for this.
The large one would be over $5,000.
It will
I
be
guess.
over, probably, yeah, because we normally do $20,000-$30,000 projects. So like if we do any 10,000, we'll always come back to council.
Thank you.
Make a
Motion to approve the ordinance?
second.
Hang on before we go any further. Mr. Finkenbinder, I'm sorry,
Oh.
sir.
We're right ahead.
Got ordinances, waiving reading.
Yeah, so this is the first ordinance appropriating funds for the Art Advisory Committee.
Mhm.
This wouldn't be a general permanent.
Okay, from Mr. Finkenbinder and I had a discussion this morning. He thinks that from in the future, we need to waive the readings at the beginning of each meeting instead of one time for the year. So,
Correct, and that was my mistake. I misinterpreted what was going on, as Felicia pointed out, 3 times, something like that. Yeah, I was under different because of the way the statute is worded. It suggests that it strongly suggests that the ordinance be in being before the readings can be waived. But as the law only requires readings for ordinances of a general and permanent nature. So this would be a perfect example of what's not a general permanent nature. But and you'll see in the agenda, there's another good example of what would be, and that's the next one. Because
Okay.
this would apply to all structures that are constructed, maintained inside the city of Conway.
so at the next one, that would be the time for someone to make a motion that we.
Correct. It could
we,
be done
we need
either-
to suspend the rules.
It could either be done when the ordinance is called or at the start of the meeting at which the ordinance is on the agenda.
Instead of picking and choosing and missing one, let's just blanket.
I was
do it
going to
at the
say,
every
yeah,
meeting.
just at the first beginning of
Cover
our
all.
meetings, just as a general rule, we just do that.
The council could do that. And that would comply with state law.
Okay, do we need to waive, or do we need to suspend the rules before we move forward? Someone make a motion that we waive the 3 readings of all ordinances tonight and then vote on it and then move forward?
Yes.
I'll move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0.
Along with any emergency clauses?
Not for this
No,
one, we do
nothing
not.
to do with this.
No, ma'am.
Oh. We should still vote.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that would be my
Mhm.
suggestion.
We should vote on separately. Now that the rules are suspended, I will make the motion to do as Mr. Finkenbeiner described.
Have a motion and a second to do what Mr. Finkenbeiner described.
Yes, we probably should state it, waive the reading of
Reading
the
of the
ordinances
ordinance, yeah.
tonight
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
for all items.
Okay, just do them individually tonight.
Waive
Oh.
all
We're
the
waiving
readings for all the
all the
ordinances
three
tonight.
readings.
Okay, all right.
That's the motion.
Have a motion and a second to waive the reading of all ordinances tonight. Any further discussion?
What if we have something that pops up that is just, and we want to carry it over to another meeting? How would that
I
work?
think they're
Put it
the,
in
probably
committee.
one of the proper
We would
procedures would be to
put it in
table.
The table or,
Table
yeah,
it.
Like we normally
Mhm.
do.
yeah.
You would just need to take it off the table, so to
Mhm.
speak, by the end of the next meeting, or else it would be
Right.
considered dead.
Everybody good?
I'm-
No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Now, Mr. Hawkins, we are back to you. Let's see, we had a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance for the public art. Any further discussion?
One point of information,
Yes,
a
sir.
reminder that this appropriation for the art board, and I believe all art board funds, comes from the Parks and Rec voluntary tax.
Is a voluntary? Yes, sir. That's correct. And thank you for pointing that out. Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Finkenbeiner. Mr. Hawkins?
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance amending Title 11 of the Conway Municipal Code, updating the city mechanical code. And we have an ordinance to be read for this. And by the way, it's mechanical code for the Permits and Inspection Department. We have a ordinance to be read for this. It's ordinance 02339.
Mr. Corning?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, City
Good
Council.
evening.
Please allow me to introduce air duct requirements on new construction. Air leakage test is to be performed on air conditioning installed in new construction homes. No more than a 6% loss of your air volume can be allowed. These requirements are to be completed by a certified technician, which can be the company that is performing the test can be a member of the company. In other words, he doesn't have to hire anybody outside his company to do the work, but they do need to be certified and trained in the testing. There is no increase in permit cost here. You have a much more efficient system. All test results will be stamped, time dated, location. It will have not only the general contractor, it will have the subcontractor and the date and time that the test was performed, and that will be sent to us at the city, and it will be attached to the permit. So you have a history now with the air conditioning system of the house. That actually is a good selling point. It's a makes you a much more efficient air conditioning system.
Does this put us in line with state requirements, Cecil?
It does. It falls in line. The state is implementing it. Also, it became a requirement as of January 1. The state has paperwork that didn't fall into place, and they're having to redo it. But to ensure that we continue, that's why we're adding this. So we will not be at fault because temporarily the state's going back in. They said by June they'll have it back in. But we need to, if we're going to continue this, we need to have something in place to make it by rule, or we'll have people complaining. Everyone that's been doing it to this point is very much behind it. It's not a issue problem. We just like to continue.
Okay. Council, any questions? Go ahead.
Oh, not that we've ever had a contractor in this town that's ever tried to cut a corner. But what if we get one who's self-testing and is reporting improperly?
It's possible to manipulate the test. Now, I've been to several classes and went to one this last week where that, yes, it's possible to manipulate, but it can be determined by the inspection, because at every inspection of a new contractor, I'm on site at the testing. So I know pretty much every contractor that's performing the test. And I'm instructed in these classes of ways to determine whether or not their accuracy is correct. Now, you can make anything, you can manipulate it to say what you want, even your test. Now, the major key thing is that it's time-stamped, location, and it's documented, and all that is sent to us. You have an app that is attached to your machine that will do that for you. So when they send that information in to us, there's no faulting it. That actually took place there. Where you could possibly pull it is a little more technical with the equipment itself. There's certain rings you put in for certain square footage. You can manipulate and change that to say what you want to. But on job sites, we can easily ask them to show us their equipment and what material they have in there for testing. So it's not completely fail-safe, but it has greatly improved the ductwork in this short amount of time.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Corney? Okay, council, back to you.
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance.
Have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion?
I just have a
Yes,
follow-up
sir.
question
Uh-huh.
for either Mr. Finkenbeiner or Mr. Garrett. On ordinances that do not have an emergency clause, what is the time frame that those become effective?
Even Conway, it's 30 days.
30 days? Okay.
Conway, I think the state law is either 60 or 90 days, but it allows cities to go with a 30-day. And that's what Conway chose to do many years ago.
I thought that was the case. I couldn't remember. Do we need an emergency clause on this? No?
I
Okay.
don't know.
Very good. Thank you. All right.
Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Miss Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Miss Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Miss Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Thank you, Cecil. Mr. Hawkins?
Final item, Mr. Mayor, here is a resolution to approve professional services agreement with FTN for a feasibility study for Centennial Creek for the Transportation Department. Hello, Kurt.
Thank you. Good evening, Council, Mayor. So the city was awarded a FEMA brick grant in the amount of $115,520 to study drainage issues along Centennial Creek, mainly in the areas kind of upstream from Prince. There's been some flooding issues historically along the Graham Drive area. This study would be to kind of do an engineering study to formulate some possible solutions to some of those flooding issues. We solicited statement of qualifications from engineering firms. 4 responded. They were scored and reviewed by the selection committee, and the selection committee chose, scored FTN the highest. So we're asking that y'all approve this, awarding this contract under this grant to FTN.
For adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for an agreement with FTN for feasibility study for Centennial Creek, the Transportation Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
Resolution R2323. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Thank you, Kurt.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Next, we have our Public Service Committee. First up is ordinance to purchase firearm equipment from Tico Safety for the Conway Police Department. Chief Tapley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we are wanting to move the department forward by placing red dot sights on our handguns. It improves accuracy, quicker shot placement. It's a real benefit to our officers. In order to do that, it's fairly expensive. We're looking to purchase 106, which would still be a little bit short, of these along with the plates to attach them to the handgun. Fortunately, we have a credit with Tico Safety, which is one of our major vendors, for $44,307. So we're asking to waive the bid process. We did include quotes with it to show that the quotes we received, they are still the cheapest to do that. So we're asking to waive the bid process and move forward with that.
Make a motion for adoption of the ordinance 02340. I think it makes perfect sense to, oh, I'm sorry, I'll wait till discussion.
Go ahead, Ms. Isbell.
Oh, I was going to say, and I think it makes perfect sense to use a company that we had the credit with, and even the fact that the bids show that they were even the cheaper.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Garrett.
Miss Isby?
Yes.
Miss Mel? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Miss Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Passes 7-0. Next up, we have an ordinance to approve the purchase of vehicles for the Conway Police Department. Chief?
So I know it's no surprise that we are having difficulty finding vehicles again. We've searched high and low. We have found 3 pursuit-rated Tahoes in Siloam Springs. We're asking to be able to purchase those without the bid process. If we go through the bid process, they will be gone, and we will not get them. The Tahoes are not available at this point in time on the state contract. They may be later in the year, but even at that, we're not going to know until then what the price is going to be on them. I can tell you that Explorers were available. They're not now, but they were available. But the Explorers were only going to be approximately $300 cheaper than the Tahoes. So the Tahoes are so much better for our officers. So we're hoping you guys will waive the bids, and we'll be able to pick these 3 up.
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance 02241, along with the emergency clause. It says 022, but should it be 23? I think so. Should be 02341.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance with the emergency clause for the purchase of vehicles for Conway Police Department. Any further discussion?
Oh.
Yes. Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Miss Isby?
Yes.
Miss Mel?
Aye.
Miss Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
The emergency clause, Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Miss Isby?
Yes.
Miss Mel?
Aye.
Miss Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye. Those both pass 7-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
How are our police officers?
Doing well. Doing well. We just finished our testing. We're in the interview process now. We're looking to hire 3 more, and so we're doing well. Thank you.
Hey, while you got the microphone, why don't you give us the 60-second version, the crime suppression unit back?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. So we are extremely happy that we're getting this back. We had it for a number of years under Chief Spradlin. Unfortunately, due to staffing issues, we had to disband it to prop up our patrol division. We've gotten back to the place that we can reinstitute that. So we're going to have 4 officers on that. They're going to work mostly evenings, and they're going to be able to address specific crimes within our community as they are happening. In other words, we've all seen that catalytic converter thefts were really bad for a while. So we've got a set of officers that we can say, this is what we're looking at. These are the hours and the days that you need to be looking at and working. They can do that. They can address things like vehicle thefts. They can address all of those different things on an individual basis without having to worry about going from call to call to call. So that's a great thing. Initially, our very first project out of the gate is to address violent crime. And that's what we're going to be looking at is the increase that we've had in that, even small. That's where we're going with it. So we're really excited about it.
We are too. Thank you, Chief. Okay, council, the last item would be if you guys want to do what we've done historically, go to one meeting in June, July, and August. We would ask to cancel the 4th Tuesday of those months. And we would put that on our Facebook page and all of our social media to let everyone know. We'd also work everything out with planning like we always do. But that's up to you guys entirely.
I think that's called the James Ed Smith rule.
James Ed Smith Memorial.
Well, you come on in, Theo.
You can come. We just won't be here.
him right now.
Ow! Did you see that?
I will
Workplace violence, y'all saw that.
We're not in the workroom.
If Mr. Jones has extra time on his hands, I've got a stop sign and a vest.
Moving right along, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion
So
that we
moved.
go to one meeting per month
Second.
during the summer.
We have a motion and a second that for the months of June, July, and August, we will cancel our fourth Tuesday. Any further discussion? Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
That passes 7-0. Mr. Jones, we'll leave the door open for you. Just come on in.
And the light
You
on
gonna leave the light
too.
on too?
Leave the light on.
With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.